we're going to take a look at Fossil Box from Bochum Regionals. Welcome back everyone to more from the SAbleyes. I'm Mitch, and today we're going to take a look at the 6th place Fossil Box list that ended up doing well in Bochum Regionals. A list that I am not particularly familiar with, but together, we can take a look at it. Let's see how we go. So here we have the list. This is the 6th place list. Renault Levain or Levan or something like that played this deck to the top 8 placing in this tournament. Apologies if I've mispronounced your name, by the way, Renault. This deck is really cool, and it builds upon the ideas that Fossils have had for the last couple of sets in this specific stadium, Pokémon Research Lab. Research Lab means that you can avoid placing down fossils on your bench. You can just put stage 1s straight into play and end your turn. This is a really strong way to start your game off, so if you're able to play down Pokémon Research Labs and get yourself your Pokémon into play. It's a little bit slow as a deck, but it is capable of doing a lot of damage if it has the time to set up. Let's start off by taking a look at the Pokémon. We've got a 4-4 line of Rampardos in this list. Rampardos is actually a really cool Pokemon. It's a stage 2, so it can sometimes get overlooked because it's too difficult to get out, but with clean hit for 60 plus 60 if your opponent's active is a stage is an evolved Pokemon, you're going to be able to do 120 with things like Malamar. You're also going to be able to take solid half hits on everything that isn't a basic, but we are in a format with basic Pokemon, things like ADP and Mew Mew, so we need to take those knockouts as quickly as we can. We have Wild Crash for 3 fighting energy. This just simply knocks out your opponent's active Pokemon if it's a basic. So your opponent has an ADP in the active, sure, Wild Crash, we'll just knock that out. We'll take 3 brothers, whatever. So this is going to be our main attacker in the deck. We're going to try and take knockouts with Wild Crash as frequently as we can, but sometimes that's not going to work out for us. We're going to need other ways of dealing with things. We've got 1 copy of Aerodactyl-GX. It's really good in that we can just play this straight down onto the bench, so we don't need to worry about getting the second part, the stage 2, like we do for Rampardos. Aerodactyl can just go straight down. It's got a single energy GX attack that's going to do a lot of damage, and it can take knockouts on things like Mewtwo that has stacked damage, stacked energy onto their Pokemon. It means that you can get those knockouts really quickly. Boulder Crush is a decent attack. You're probably not going to use that too much, but Primal Winds is quite an interesting ability if you're able to utilize it. It can stop your opponent from attacking because it means that they're going to need more energy than they normally would. Another key stat for Aerodactyl is, of course, that it has free retreat, which is important. We also have one line of Carracosta. Carracosta is useful for 2 reasons. Firstly, we have Ancient Custom. Means that Pokemon tool cards attached to your opponent's Pokemon have no effect, so no Escape Boards, no Stealthy Hoods, things like that. Although actually Stealthy Hood, now that I'm thinking about it, is an interesting interaction. I don't know how that would work. Besides the point. We also have Aqua Impact, does 80 plus 20 for each retreat cost in our opponent's active Pokemon. So that means we can be doing 80, 100 for most Pokemon. We're probably going to do 120 or 140 to Pokemon that have 2 or 3 retreat cost. And Ability Zard, playing Rechizard, things like that, they're going to have big retreat costs. So we can take a one-shot knockout on those if we have Carracosta in play. In support of this, we have 4 basic Jirachis and 1 copy of Marshadow. These are the only basic Pokemon that this deck plays, so you are almost guaranteed to start off your deck, or start off your game, with a Jirachi with Stellar Wish. This is really strong. Not only does it give you the opportunity to start with one of the best support Pokemon in the game, but it also means that you've got more chance of finding the stadium that you need to get set up. So Jirachi, really strong. We obviously also play 1 copy of Marshadow so that the deck can remove Chaotic Swell. The deck relies on the stadium coming into play, so if Chaotic Swell is in play, we need to get rid of that as soon as possible. Moving on to the rest of the list, there's a lot going on here, so give me a moment. It's got an interesting supporter line. We've got 2 copies of Copycat and 3 copies of Cynthia in this list. It's an interesting split. Obviously, Copycat is very strong in a format where people are starting to build up big hands of cards, which we're kind of in at the moment. It's interesting that the choice wasn't made to go with 4 Cynthia, but I can see the logic behind it. We're going to fall behind a little bit as well. We're expecting our opponent to take knockouts, so Copycat might be a decent option for you. We also have 2 copies of Goose Mahala, which is one of the best supporters to get on our first turn. We're going to be able to search out our stadium, which is critical. We can find a tool like an Escape Board or a Karate Belt. We can also find our big ol' special energy, the Super Boost, which is down the bottom here. We'll talk about that in a minute. We've got 2 copies of Rosa. We're expecting Pokemon to get knocked out, so Rosa will be able to search out things that we need. We're probably going to use our stadium once or twice, so we're going to set up our board that way. We're expecting to fall a couple of prizes behind. It's probably going to happen. So Rosa will come up clutch in those games. We also have Faba. Faba is useful in order to get rid of stadiums as well as our Marshadow, so we can utilize that to get rid of Celtic Swell if we need to, as well as giving you some utility to get rid of some things like those pesky tools or special energy on Pokemon that we don't want to have them. We also have 1 copy of Cyrus Prism. If we've got our opponent setting up a board that we don't like, we can play Cyrus Prism and force them to shuffle in all but 2 of their benched Pokemon into the back of their deck. Now that means that we're probably going to be utilizing this card the most against Malamar. Malamar's a tough matchup. We've got the opportunity to beat it if they've set their board up and then we manage to take a knockout on the turn that we play Cyrus. It's going to be awkward for them to get their game plan going if that's what we're able to do. The rest of the items, we've got 1 copy of Energy Spinner, the search out basic energy. We want to make sure that we're attaching every turn because Rampardos' attack cost is 3 fighting. It's a little bit awkward, so we want to make sure that we've got any energy attachments anywhere that we can. We also, for the same reason, have Energy Switch so that we can move energy around from Pokemon to Pokemon. It means that we can attach to a Jirachi turn 1. We don't have to miss our energy attachment, which can put us behind. We can Energy Switch and start attacking with Rampardos as early as turn 2 if we get lucky. Energy Switch obviously critical to get this deck going. We also have 2 copies of Great Catcher. Great Catcher is going to be able to bring out Pokemon like ADP or Mewtwo that are hiding on the bench so that we can knock them out straight away with Rampardos. Very important. We've got 2 of them so that we can do it twice. Right? We can take 2 knockouts and win the game that way. 3 copies of Pokemon Communication. We don't have a full set of 4 here because most of our Pokemon search is actually going to happen from Research Lab, so we're not too worried about that. It's mainly for finding those Stage 2s. We also have 1 copy of Reset Stamp. We're not going to be discarding cards unless we choose to, so 1 copy is probably going to be fine. 4 copies of Switch, because this is an important part of the deck. We need to be able to maneuver between Jirachis in the early game. We want to make sure that we've got the opportunity to get out of the active when we've got something in there that we don't want. So Switch is important. 4 copies of that. We've got 1 copy of Unidentified Fossil, which is a really weird number to have in a Fossil deck, but 1 is pretty much all that you need. If you've used your Stadium twice, that means you've got 4 Stage 1s on the bench. Play down 1 Identified Fossil. You're probably going to be alright to use that later in the game. So it's not the biggest issue if you've only got the 1. It's more for the late game than for anything else. Like I mentioned, we've got 4 copies of Pokemon Research Lab as our stadium, but we also have 1 copy of Martial Arts Dojo. That means that we can start doing extra damage to our opponent's Pokemon if we have to. This doesn't make a difference when it comes to Rampardos' second attack, which just simply knocks out basics. But if we need to take a knockout on a stage 1 that is slightly bigger than a Malamar, then Martial Arts Dojo can come into play. It means as well that we can also get some extra damage from Aerodactyl if we are behind. So Aerodactyl's GX attack potentially can do a bigger knockout if we've got this Martial Arts Dojo in play. Finally, a couple of tools. We've got 2 Escape Board. We're playing Jirachi, so Escape Board is a must. And we also have Karate Belt. And this is how we're going to try and attack with Rampardos as early as turn 2. We attach a Karate Belt to our active. If we've got to our Rampardos, sorry. If we've got 2 fighting energy on there and we are behind, then we're going to start being able to attack. And that means that we can start pushing our advantage. The fact that we've got these really strong attackers, we can start attacking using Karate Belt. I mentioned before we've got 1 Super Boost Energy, provides 3 energy if we have, 4 energy if we have 3 Stage 2s in play, which is not difficult to do by any stretch. Towards the end of the game, you might even have 4 or 5 Stage 2s if everything's going perfectly, so I wouldn't stress too hard, probably not 5, maybe just 4, but still, you're going to have enough, so it's a super good card in order to just boost the energy attachments, be able to attack with the Rampardos for 1 attachment is really strong, as well as being able to attack with that Carracosta. Super good. But the bread and butter of the deck is our 9 Fighting Energy. We want to get as many of these into play as possible so that we can energy switch them around, we can attach them to Rampardos and start taking knockouts. So I think with this all said and done, the list is pretty cool. It's a fun deck to play. Obviously really strong in a GX basic format, and we're going to play it up next, and hopefully it does well for us. So here we go with our gameplay with Fossilbox. Looks like Water, Dragon, Steel. Looks like this might be ADP that we're up against here. So hopefully we get a chance to show off the strength of Rampardos. Our opponent, hello, how are you? Looks like they are going to be starting here. And hey, we've managed to find a Jirachi in our first hand, and we've got ourselves a couple of stadiums as well. So this is probably a pretty strong start. We've got those 2 stadiums there, so we're going to be good to go, as long as our opponent, what is this? Bronzor? Okay, maybe it's not ADP, or maybe it's got some weird tech to it. I'm not sure. Energy, oh no, it is ADP. Okay, Energy Spinner comes down here. They're going to be grabbing themselves a Water Energy, and you'd presume that that's going to be attached to ADP, and then that's simply it. So, there's a Metal Energy attached to ADP, so we're all good here. We don't have a great supporter to play. We could play Goose Mahala, but there's no real reason to. We're just going to Stellar Wish. I might grab that Escape Board. Since we're playing ADP, our opponent's not going to be putting on too much pressure. We probably don't want to use that Copycat. They're not going to be pressurizing us too early, so we're going to be able to just attach this Escape Board and then Pokémon Research Lab to grab ourselves some Stage 1s. We'll grab a Cranidos or 2 and chuck those onto the bench. Or should we go for anything else? Nah, that's probably fine. We'll just grab those and put them down. So we're going to be all ready to go. Our hand's a little bit awkward for next turn, but like I mentioned, we're happy to just Research Lab again, so it doesn't matter. We've got this Carracosta here, so maybe should have got myself what's going on here? Oh, we got a switch. Sorry, my apologies. I'm just getting distracted. There's multiple things going on. I've got Cyrus. I've got a whole bunch of stuff that I can utilize in this hand, so I'm just trying to think this on the fly. Maybe could have got the Tirtouga instead of a Cranidos, but I think we're okay here. I probably should have attached that Fighting Energy though, and that's going to come back to bite me here. The fact that I don't have that in play means I can't attack next turn, so probably should have attached to the Jirachi last turn, but it's okay, it's fine. We're not going to get punished too hard, surely. Green's coming down here from our opponent. They've got everything that they need. They're probably going to be grabbing themselves, I'd imagine, another supporter for next turn. As well as some way to find Pokemon. But ADP getting a GX attack off here is going to be very worrisome. I'm a bit concerned about that, but we should be okay, just as long as we are able to take a knockout on this ADP soon. Now this is why I probably should have attached to the Jirachi, right? If I attached to the Jirachi, then I'd be able to energy switch onto the Cranidos, even if I don't get the Rampardos next turn. I've at least got the energy attachment down. So, yeah, probably a bit of a mistake there, but I'm sure you'll see plenty of them. I mean, this is one of the first times I'm playing the deck. I've had a couple of practice games, but this one is really... Yeah, they're grabbing Rosa here and Pokémon, so they're expecting to get knocked out next turn. And then Altered Creation GX is the go, so we're on the clock. Top decking that Cynthia is a big deal here. Attaching a Fighting Energy, and then I'll be able to just Cynthia away this hand. Got myself a Rampardos there, so I can evolve my Cranidos into Rampardos, which is good. I've got the Tirtouga in hand, which sucks, Got Aerodactyl as well, which sucks, but that's okay. I've got Pokemon Communication here, so I can use that to shuffle in one of those Stage 1 Pokemon into the deck, so that I can get that out with a Research Lab if I need to. I'll put the Tirtouga back in there. I could get another Jirachi or another Rampardos here. Might be worth utilizing, since I've got the Communication now, it might be worth using it just to get one, but I do need extra stuff. I've got the Rosa in hand, so a couple of Stellar Wishes here would be really, really strong. I can retreat into this Jirachi, Stellar Wish again, and then be ready to go. None of these cards are super strong for me. I might just grab a Reset Stamp. Maybe the Pokemon Com could have been better here, but I mean, I can stamp my opponent down next turn. I'm going to have a whole bunch of Pokemon in play, so I should be good to go. I've got the Tirtouga and the Cranidos in the deck, so I'll put those on the bench, and then I will be good to go. Just checking to see here what cards I've got in deck, just to make sure that I've got everything that I need. Again, it's not a big deal that I'm going to be behind on prizes, because I want to be behind on prizes, right, to utilize my Karate Belt, so it's not a huge problem. I've got a Jirachi ready to go. If my opponent takes a knockout, then we are a-okay with that. We're gonna be set. We're gonna have a whole bunch of stuff to do. So I'm feeling pretty positive here. Although the question will be, how am I going to get the knockout on the next attacker, right? Because this ADP is going to take a knockout on Jirachi. They're going to take 2 prizes, and their next attacker, whatever that attacker is, might be a little bit difficult to deal with, but that's okay. We should be fine. Pokemon Communications from my opponent here means they're going to be grabbing probably their attacker, presuming that they have energy. It's just a matter of... Oh, it looks like the baby Drampa is going to be coming up. That's fair enough. Drampa is going to be a real pain to deal with, because it's going to be able to one-shot Cranidos with that Dragon Arcana attack. There's the energy from ADP. So they are set and ready here. They've got their attacker and their ultimate raying for 2 prizes onto this Jirachi to power up the Drampa. So now's when the turns get interesting. I've got Jirachi, I can promote that. I've got Rosa, so I'm guaranteed to attack this turn. But the question becomes, how do I get the next knockout? I'll have to wait and see for that one. The energy comes down, there's a water. Presumably there'll be a metal and another water coming down onto this Drampa. Oh, a fairy. So that's very interesting. There's obviously some sort of dragon-related tech in this deck somewhere. So we're probably not going to see it since the fairy energy is on the Drampa, but that's okay. And now we're on to our turn. Jirachi comes into play. I've got this Rosa, so we'll play it. We're going to grab ourselves probably another Rampardos. That seems fair. We'll grab a Karate Belt, wherever those are. Scrolling, Karate Belt, and a Fighting Energy. So this is guaranteeing our attack. We also have another attacker, although we aren't in a super strong position next turn. If we had got ourselves that extra energy attachment on our original Jirachi, then I'd be feeling a lot better. And there's the energy switch as well, so that probably would have been really strong, but now not so much. Unidentified Fossil is probably not a bad move here. We can play that down. It means that we've got access to another stage 1 next turn. We'll go into our Rampardos and then Wild Crash. 280 damage to this ADP. There's a knockout. We're going to take 3 prizes, which is really, really good. Really, you can't complain about that at all. The big problem, though, is that our opponent is going to get a knockout, and they're going to get it quite easily here. Since we've got that unidentified fossil down, though, we could potentially take this knockout with Aerodactyl next turn. So we do have that option. They are going to take 2 prizes on this Rampardos, though, so we do need to be aware that we could be in a bit of trouble. Our opponent plays Rosa. They obviously had that in hand from last turn, so they're going to grab themselves a Pokemon, a trainer, and a energy card. I don't know what their best option here is, because if I knock out this Drampa next turn, they're going to be multiple turns behind in their attachments, so it's going to be interesting to see what they go for. I mean, they could just go for another ADP and attach to that. Maybe they can get themselves going. They've got a Bronzong there. That's an interesting choice. Bronzong I wouldn't think comes up too much in this matchup. But hey, I guess They just want to make it harder for me to knock it out. That's fair. They've got an ADP in hand. There we go. So they've got the access to the support Pokemon now. They've got a Cryogonal as well. Okay, that's interesting. So they're gonna try and stop us from using items potentially. That could be a bit of a pain. I guess it's at least a 1 energy attack cost. But they're attaching the water here to the ADP, getting themselves ready for an attack. And then there's the knockout. So 2 prizes ready and raring to go. This Drampa takes 2 on the Rampardos. 70 plus 70 plus 30, so that's 170 damage, which is a knockout. And I'm thinking that Aerodactyl looks pretty good on the bench there. Going to be able to attack with that. With Wild Dive 50 times seems pretty strong, so we will attach that energy there. Now the question is, I'm going to play this reset stamp. I'll stamp him down to 2, but the question is, do I Cynthia here, or do I hold on to this Great Catcher, knowing that I could potentially get that off? It's going to be a tough one. We'll go with the Cynthia. We'll Cynthia now, because that means we can Stellar Wish again. You never know, I might get lucky, and look at that, I do. So Stellar Wish, and we'll reset hole first. We'll get rid of the Power Plant so that our opponent needs extra energy to attack. And then we'll Stellar Wish. We'll see what we can grab here. I'm going to grab Energy Switch, because that means that I can potentially power up another attacker next turn. This Rampardos can potentially win me the game next turn. I will GX attack, do 150 to the Drampa and remove their only attacker from the board. And now my hand, as long as I keep it, looks really, really strong to win the game. I'll be able to retreat into Rampardos, attach, Energy Switch, and hopefully I've got myself access to some way of maintaining my... Oh, actually, no, I don't have enough energy in play to make that play. So, okay. So this is gonna be more difficult than I thought it was going to be, because I can't actually take that knockout next turn. Alright, so we've got some problems, because I obviously am going to need to... I'm going to need to find, like, double stage 2 and then find the boost energy here to get that knockout. So maybe I'm going to need to take another turn. But the good thing is, my opponent has a low hand size and they have a Bronzong in the active. So they are potentially stuck there for a while. Makes me wonder why that was the case, but that's okay. They're going for a Pokegear here, Mallow and Lana. They've already used Cynthia and Caitlin, and then it's just a pass. So I've got double energy switch now, so that's useful, I guess. I'm going to be able to attach an energy. I'll put that on the Aerodactyl, maybe. I don't know, maybe pressure some attack next turn, and then just pass. I've got nothing else to do. I guess the attachment could have gone onto the Rampardos. I probably could have retreated as well, but it's in my best interest to make it look like I've got a dead hand here, because I don't want my opponent going and realizing that I'm actually holding game next turn. Cynthia and Caitlin is strong for them. They're going to be able to grab another supporter from their discard pile. Green's Exploration means that they're going to be able to search out some stuff if they get another turn. They're looking at their big hand now, and they've got a Power Plant, so they're going to be able to attack with ADP this turn if they can switch into it. They're going to Tag Call. Makes me wonder if is there anything that they can actually do. There's a Mallow and Lana and ADP, so if they hadn't already played a supporter, they could have retreated. But no, there's nothing there, so it's just kind of an interesting last couple of turns here. Nothing's really happened. I'm going to Great Catcher out this ADP. I'm going to attach an energy to Rampardos. I'm going to double energy switch after retreating to that Rampardos, and then we're going to be good to go. So we can see here how strong Wild Crash actually is. Obviously didn't have a lot going on with my turns there, but neither did he. So able to get this knockout. Wild Crash will take 2 prizes and win the game for me. So yeah, pretty strong showing, and a really fun deck to play. I definitely would recommend. So that's Rampardos and Fossil Box from Bochum Regionals. A fun deck, definitely one to try if you have the cards for it. It's very fun to play. I'm not sure how good it will be in the long run, but it's a very, very strong option for you now, especially if you're looking for something that's a little bit off-kilter, something that's not meta. You can have some fun with this one. If you like the content and you want to see more, then consider subscribing. There'll be a little button just here. Over this side, there'll be some videos for you to watch, and up above is our handle for Twitter and for Facebook, at the SAbleyes_YT. Follow us there for our info of when videos come up and things like that. Thanks everyone for coming along, and we'll see you all next time for more from the SAbleyes. Bye.